Hello crafty friends, this is Rachel, Crafting Mama Bear. Today's video I wanted to share with y'all how I tackle my Disney color by number pages. So I'm going to walk you through like step by step what I do. I will record me coloring this page that I have selected, and I'll turn on some music when that part comes. But yeah, so first thing, when you have these color by number books, they are mysteries. So they just look like a bunch of random scribbly lines. The back has the solutions for them. I go pick the page that I want, and then the first thing I do is I take a pen and I go where all of my number one, where my black outline is going to be, and I mark that out with a pen. I have a ton of blue erasable ink, and so that's what I use in here. You don't have to use an erasable pen, but that's just what I have used on this. And I like to use the blue because it just stands out a little bit more. So that's the first thing I do. I go through and mark out all of my black outlines, and then I find all of my white areas and I fill that in with my acrylic paint pens, because the whites in most of the books, the whites aren't, let me see, like here in Moana's eyes, you still have lines in there, and I haven't found a super opaque white acrylic marker that doesn't require at least 3, maybe 4 layers in order to like completely cover up the lines that are on there. So I like to do those first, and then I go and I grab my color code book where I have a bunch of these just printed out on plain printer paper. There's a link to this form in my Ko-fi shop. I did not create this. This was a free digital download in one of the Facebook Disney color by number groups, and so I have listed her name and all of her information for the person who actually created this sheet, but it is available if you want to go and print it out to have. This is so nice because it's got all of the numbers, letters, symbols, so I don't have to try and write all that down. It's been so convenient to have it like this. And then I've also gone through and I keep a notebook that has the solutions to every color by number book that I have, and I cut out the little image and put it on the corner of my color code sheet, so when I'm flipping back through and I want to see what colors I used, I can just flip here and know exactly which page it was that I did. All right, and I have already gone and selected all of the colors that I'm going to use for this, but I also wanted to share with you how I do that. And for all of my acrylic markers and even my languo pens that I use, I have swatch charts where I have punched holes where the color is, so I can take it and put it up to the colors and see which one best matches. So that is what I did. Let me grab it. With my languo ones. So I went through, took this. If I thought it was a good match for one of them, I would lay it down, and then I figured out which ones matched the best. All right. So I am going to set up my little area, I highly, highly, highly recommend for anyone who does any sort of coloring to get yourself what I use is a computer monitor riser, because it lifts up the book at least 5 inches off of the tabletop, and you're going to have a lot less strain on your neck, and it's just a lot more comfortable, because once you get into the bigger color by number books, they can take days. Especially, I'm working on a double page spread right now, and I'm already 2 days in, and I think it'll probably take me another 3 days to like fully complete it. So that's a lot of time with bending over, and yeah, highly recommend grab yourself a monitor riser that has a flat surface. It doesn't need to be vented, and I actually ordered one on Temu for about $20. I'll pop up the picture because the one I'm using now, one of the legs broke, and so I got this, and this one actually has extra like removable storage things on the side of it, and it's got a opening underneath so I can store stuff in it. So just throwing that out there. I'm going to rearrange this, get everything pulled out, and then I will go ahead and record me coloring. All right, I have my area set up. I am going to go ahead and put all my colors down on my list and then get started coloring. With some of these colors that are lighter, I don't think I'll come across it with this color palette, but sometimes with the really light yellows and skin tones that are really light, they just don't have a lot of opacity. Okay, so it's not that the marker or the brand of acrylic marker isn't good. It's just that some colors naturally have more opacity than others. So when it comes to that, if you're feeling like you've got a color that's super, super pale and you're just having to put coat after coat after coat, I'll go through and put white all over that area, maybe a couple layers, so then I don't have to use as much of my color to cover everything, if that makes sense. Because you can buy packs, and I have shown on my channel before in hauls where you can buy packs of just the white and just the black acrylic markers with different random brands, and I've tried a ton of them, and no one brand is better than the other, in my opinion. I haven't come across it in all of the markers that I've tested. So again, I don't think I'll have that issue with this because most of these colors are pretty opaque on their own, but I just wanted to throw that out there. That is something that I do like to do. Okay, I'm going to swatch my colors so you can see all of the colors that I've selected on here, and then I will start coloring. Okay, while I am doing this, I wanted to stop and let you know if you've made it this far, if you're watching. I usually go through and do my first layer and then do my second. And then, like over here, I went ahead and touched up that part of the nose, just because. I mean, there are spots like over here that I might be able to, yeah, just smooth out with this color. And I'm not too precious about the lines and making sure that it only goes in the spot that I need it to. Mostly because if I feel like it looks off, then it's acrylic and you can just go right over it. It's really, it's not that big of a deal. Like over here on the ear, I probably went out of the line that was given to me, but it's okay. It's all going to turn out beautiful in the end. And so yeah, almost every single color, even this dark color that I did for number 2, it needed a second coat in some areas in order to like really cover it up. And if you've ever painted a wall in your home or in someone else's home, you know that even if you're painting on white, you're gonna need multiple coats. I hear so many people talk about how they don't like a certain brand of acrylic marker because they have to go over it so many times, and I'm sorry to tell you that that's just how acrylic works. Now, I have heard people say, well, you don't have to do that with the Tule Arts, and my response is that the Tule Arts have a much finer nib, and you're getting, because you have to go so much slower to cover up space, yeah, you're probably going to get more product, more ink come out at one time, but you're also spending probably 3 times more coloring than I am. It's so much faster to do this and do a couple of coats than for me to do the Tule Arts. No shade on the Tule Arts. I've never had Tule Arts. In my opinion, I think that it's too expensive of a product for me to have when I can get the same results from cheaper supplies. And that's how I craft. That's how I color. That's everything that I have experience doing and that I have done. It's not that I want my things to be cheap, but I want to find the most cost-effective way for me to get a good-looking end result. And a lot of times, you don't need the top-of-the-line products to do that. Now, if I was an artist and I was painting this on a canvas, of course I would want something, but it's a coloring book. There's no need for me to get artist quality supplies when you can get cheaper ones that work just as good, sometimes better, than some of the top of the line ones. So, just my little 2 cents worth. But so yeah, there's just lots of me going over and over until I get the smoothness that I want. And if that bothers you, then you might want to consider doing these with a different medium. I've seen some beautiful colored pencil work, but again, I mean, it's going to take probably 4 times as long to get colored pencil on these. And I mean, to be completely honest, these supplies that I use, sorry, my brain went off. I've been doing these color by number books pretty religiously since March 2025. And I've completed over 70 pages. Most of them are in the larger format books. And as far as how many pens I've gone through, acrylic markers, I've been saving them so I can show people. This is what I've gone through out of 70 plus pages, and I also use these on some of my coloring pages. But this is all that I've gone through. And some of them are the same color, which is another reason why I'm keeping hold of it, to see if there are certain color packs that I should focus on getting rather than others. But the Guangna brand, 10 out of 10, hands down. You can't beat the price for their larger packs. I think I saw that they're coming out with like a 320 pack or something ridiculous like that. You don't need that many markers to do this. What I will say is maybe get different varieties. So I have the Guangna and then the languo, because the languo has different shades and like deeper, richer shades than I find in the Guangna. So if I can't find it in my Guangna, I'm 9 times out of 10 will find a color that I need in my languo acrylic markers or my languo pens. And those are super cheap. I mean, they're super inexpensive compared to some other options that are available. But yes, so alrighty, I will get back to coloring. crafty friends, this is it. That was how I do my color by number pages. As you can tell, I move my page a lot when I'm working on these, and by all means do that. I mean, because there are certain angles that I can get sharper lines if I move the page a certain way. So Bolt turned out super cute. I'm happy with all the colors that I picked for it, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. So the last thing I do on these pages is I grab my little stamper from Temu, my date stamper, and I will stamp today's date. And today is November 18th. And alrighty. So there it is. I hope I addressed any questions that people had, and if you're new to the Disney Color by Number books and you're scared to do them, just do it. I mean, especially if you're doing it with acrylic, you can fix everything. I mean, just like my black on my outline, the tip of it hit like a bump, and so it squirted out, and you never know. I mean, acrylic is so forgiving. If you paint something and you don't love the shade of it, you don't like something about it, you can always go back and fix it. So yeah, that's how I tackle them. And smaller is going to be better. I love this portraits book because, one, it's portraits, so you don't have a ton of busyness in the background. The color palettes for these books are pretty minimal. They're not too bad. And the size, it's good. Now, if you're wanting a larger book, again, I would recommend the portraits book. The one with Stitch on the cover, that one's one of those like trick your eye ones. I wouldn't start with that one if you're a beginner, but I'll put up a picture of a couple of the books that I recommend that beginners get, if you just want books that have like easy, big, bold pictures like this to color. Some people don't want the super intricate, the like little princess books or the love stories. Those have enormous color palettes, lots of fine detail, and some people don't find that relaxing. So yeah, if you don't have this portraits book, absolutely 10 out of 10, I recommend this. I hope they have another one of these in the works, because yeah, I adore it. I love working in this book. Hey, Editing Rachel here. I did not mention in the previous clips where I get these books from. I get these books off of a French website called Lireka. And in the description of all of my videos, I list a link and a coupon code that you can use your first time that you purchase off of Lireka. I believe it is a 5% off that you get. And if you use my code, the website gives me a little bit of a credit on their site, so I can purchase more books to share with y'all. So if you are interested in these books and you do end up going through Lireka for them, then I would really appreciate that you use my code. It doesn't cost you anything extra. It just kind of helps support the channel a little bit. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there. Also, these books are starting to come to the States in the English version. I have pre-ordered 3 books that I do not have. The Villains, the Family, and the Grand Classiques Tome 1 are going to be coming out in 2026. I pre-ordered those on Target's website when they were doing a buy 2 get 1 free. So that might be something that you look into also if you don't want to go through Lireka. I have had nothing but amazing results from working with Lireka. Everything comes very well packaged. The books are never damaged in any way. The tracking is great, and considering I live in Kansas, in the middle of the US, it really doesn't take too long for them to make their way to me. Maybe 2 weeks, and that's kind of a stretch, but yes. So there you have it. Again, if you have any questions or if I didn't go over something that you think I should have, leave it in the comments below and I will be happy to address it for you. Alrighty, that is it, and until next time, bye-bye.